I trekked to my room, letting the day fade to the back of my memories as I remembered Diana's words to Damien. She would have a ritual set up for him if he wanted to be human, but the choice was his. A part of me screamed to stop him. The risk of his life wasn't worth it, but it was something he desired more than anything. The fix seemed simple, but it was deadly. I could lose the man I love over something trivial. But was it trivial?
Of course it is.
Shut up. I wasn't surprised anymore, glaring at the floor as the voice made themselves known in my head.
He's being selfish. Why be a human when he could be happy with you as a demon? Why does this change have to happen?
It's what he wants.
But what do you want? You're the one about to sign your life away to him forever and ever. Shouldn't your opinion matter whether he becomes a human or stays a demon?
My mind began to agree, but wasn't that selfish within itself? Was I truly that important to where I was allowed to decide Damien's choices because I was his soon-to-be wife? I continued forward, letting the dark chuckle from the voice reverberate in my head into a simple echo. This was my choice, and the voice needed to stay out of it, whatever it was. I would deal with it in due time. For now, my focus was on Damien. I reached our room to see Damien standing by the door, obviously waiting for me. As he caught sight of me, he smiled slightly and walked over, meeting me halfway. Can you guys just, talk about it, though? Please.
Hey.
Hey. I couldn't mask the worry in my voice. I was nervous, frightened beyond anything else about this. There was a lot at stake, and I became witness and potential victim to it all with each minute that passed. But would Damien listen? Would he understand? What would he do if I voiced my worries? Would he give a damn about the risks? Did he give a damn? I gazed into his eyes, seeing a hopeful fire burn within them. His answer was clear, while mine wasn't. It was completely uncomfortable to be in my skin, but I had to accept that this was an obstacle we had to face one way or another. Damien took up my hand and held them to his chest.
Would you be upset with me if I went through with it?
A part of me felt like screaming, begging for him to reconsider. The other part of me wanted to simply shake my head and accept what was about to occur. I was completely torn. I'm not upset. Can't you just say, I wouldn't be upset at you? It's just that I'm worried about you. I don't want you to die. But if you accept the risks, then I would want to support you. Even though it could end super, super bad. Please don't die, Damien. I gripped onto Damien's hands, clinging for something to soothe me, make me feel at ease. When nothing came, I scrambled to try and answer him. If it makes you happy, then do it. I had to accept it. It wasn't my choice to make it all. It wasn't fair to Damien to demand that he change his mind for me. Besides, I loved him no matter what. Human or demon, he was still the man I loved. I stared into Damien's eyes as I gripped his hands and hugged them to me lovingly. I could see the pure joy in Damien's eyes as he stared down at me, tears lacing the edges. I love you, no matter what you are. If you truly wish to be human, then let's do everything we can to make that happen. Before I let Damien reply, however, I brought his hands to my lips, kissing over them with a now worried expression. I was still scared. I could lose him. But please, please, don't you dare die on me. I can't bear to live without you. Damien nodded and leaned him, kissing over my forehead gingerly.
I will do everything I can to survive it.
If you think about it, this is kind of like surgery, in a sense. Like he's going in for a surgery that, could help him, but at the same time it could be deadly. Choices. There's no good answer. A wave of relief washed over me just from his words. Maybe he was enthralling me to calm me down, or maybe his love simply reassured me that everything would be alright. Either way, this was happening. I looked up at him and caressed his cheek, feeling him lovingly nuzzle into my palm. Then let's tell Diana. A smile danced along Damien's lips before he wrapped his arms around me and buried his head in my shoulder. I could hear him whimper a bit in happiness as I wrapped my arms around him, pulling him close.
Thank you.
I could faintly hear the voice in my head scoff.
Wow, you're really going to let him die. How sad. I guess you'll have to prepare a funeral instead of a wedding.
I rolled my eyes and held Damien tighter. I wouldn't listen to it anymore. I believed in our love more than anything. We would be okay. As long as we have enough love between us, it should be fine, right? That's how this game works, isn't it? The 2 days that followed came filled with work from Diana and her group. Upon Damien's request, Diana ordered a massive search for everything needed for a transmutation ritual that would normally have been used to make a human a demon. The worry of the ritual bubbled in my core, but I was going to be alright. This was something Damien and I decided together, and this was going to make Damien happy. That was all that mattered in the end. Of course, the experience wouldn't have been great, even without the lovely voice in my head trying to convince me otherwise. I settled that the voice was some form of worry, some sort of regret I was holding that was morphed to represent Diana, the one who placed the worry there years ago. I would beat it out as soon as Damien returned to me as a human. As the 7th day arrived, the ritual was prepared and ready for us. The others gave us their own concerns and wishes, hoping for the best regardless of what happened. We were positive that we would be okay. Oh boy, here we go. Entering the war room, Diana looked over at the pair of us, nodding and stepping away from the table. On it were arranged purple and gold candles, all lit with black, but somehow illuminating flames that flickered in the air gently. It seemed mystical and shadow-like, but if this was how it was done, then it was how it was done. There was space in the center of the table for a body to lay down within the circle of candles, making it clear of what had to happen. Diana gestured to the table, looking to Damien and pointing to the large space between the arranged candles.
Lie down when you are ready.
Damien nodded before turning to me and smiling, taking my hand and kissing it.
You'll be here when it's over, right?
I nodded, smiling up at him and kissing his hand in return. I will. I promise. A smile was exchanged between us before Damien looked at Diana and walked to the table, stepping up on a block that was placed for him near the table to let him climb up with ease. As Damien settled onto the table, Diana walked over to me and took my hand, guiding me towards the table as well. Huh?
A theory. Indulge me.
Okay. I watched as Diana guided me to a chair beside the table, letting me sit on it before taking Damien's and my hands and clasping them together.
This is part of the ritual?
No, but it's a theory I have that might help.
Okay. Diana closed her eyes and wrapped her hands around Damien's and mine, letting a soft purple glow emanate from them and circle around our hands.
You are human and are full of energy. If something falters, we can use your energy to rekindle it and resume the ritual.
Okay. I'm up for it. Fear sank into my core, remembering the risks of this transformation, but at least Diana was trying to find ways to make the ritual work. It was rather thoughtful. Damien smiled at me before laying his head back and staring at the ceiling. I squeezed his hand as Diana removed her hands from our clasped ones. Purple magic continued to dance around our hands as I smiled back at Damien.
Ready?
Damien and I nodded at the same time before both of us closed our eyes. I could hear Diana step back and mutter under her breath some sort of Latin incantation I couldn't dissect. As she did, the energy around the room began to pulse and wave like an ocean in a storm. The air began to brush against my skin, causing me to look down at Damien, seeing the black fire around the candles around him intensify in their illumination. I tightened my hold on Damien's hand and shut my eyes again, desperate and hopeful. This had to work. It had to.
It won't work.
Shut up! In the darkness of my mind, the voice appeared, making me grimace. Leave me alone.
I'm telling the truth. It won't work. He'll die and you'll be all alone. All because you wanted to make him...
My silence in reply made the voice silence itself. I had enough of its torment, its teasing and prodding. Nothing was going to go wrong.
Ignoring me won't change the truth of the matter.
I took in a breath and focused myself, remaining calm and hopeful. I know what you are.
Then say it. Make me believe it.
As I stared into the dark, I could feel a small smile grace my lips. It was clear who the voice was now. You're my worries, my doubt. You are my emotions intensified and transformed into some sort of haunting being in my head. Its silence became my confirmation. I had personified my worries and my doubts, and they had become a voice in my head, trying to guide me towards the wrong choices. As I was magically inclined, it became an actual shadow that haunted my thoughts and dreams, feeding off of my fear and dread and becoming a part of me I couldn't shake off easily. However, now I could. This actually would have been a good route to do Diana's on, I think, now that I think about it, just because of she also has a shadow that's bothering her. With this transformation, I would finally destroy it. I was wrong to doubt Damien. I was wrong to doubt myself. This is what we need, and nothing is going to keep us from the goal we want to achieve. We will defeat the Demon Lord, go home, and live happy lives together, as humans. I wanted to be firm. I wanted to stand strong. As I finished speaking, however, the voice simply chuckled.
But if Damien becomes a human, he'll die at the Demon Lord's hands.
I gasped as memories of my nightmare flashed before my eyes. Damien was a human in the nightmare, dying by sacrificing himself for my sake. The simple realization shook my core, making me fearful once again. If Damien became human, I'd lose him anyway. My soul became heavy and racked with doubt.
There we are. You cannot win this little battle with me. Either way, you lose.
Think of your cinnamon bun. I began to flood my mind with thoughts of Damien, of our love in the human world. We were so happy and joyous together, forgetting the worries of the world and simply living with each other. There was no greater love story than the story I lived with him, and would continue to love with him until the end of time. Or possibly live with him until the end of time. Uh-oh.
No!
Oh no, what? What? Damien and Diana's voice ripped me from my thoughts, gasping at the sight I became witness to upon opening my eyes. Damien's body became engulfed in the black flames from the candles, the fire wrapping around his body like a cocoon of chains. Damien!
Focus your energy and save him!
I slammed my free hand into the hand I was clasping tightly, uncaring that the flames were looking at me as well. I dug my hands into his hand, shutting my hands tightly. Don't leave me! Please! Take me instead! Look, if the ritual was for a human to become a demon, maybe we should just do it the other way around. I wasn't going to let death take him. If death was taking anyone, it would be me. The flames, as if they accepted my terms, quickly began to snake off of Damien's body and up his hand to me, wrapping me in their tight embrace and burning over my skin.
God! No!
The flames began to encase us, blinding my nerves in endless pain and wrapping my mind in agony. In a last attempt to live, Damien sat up and wrapped his arms around me, clinging to me tightly.
I won't let you go!
I winced through the pain between us and gripped Damien in return, the flames intensifying in our embrace. Where's my picture for this? I won't let you go either! I was in tears, hoping deep within my heart that we would live. I loved him, and he loved me. We needed to survive. In a burst of white light, Damien and I were suddenly pushed off from each other.
Ah!
Ah! The light became blinding. My body felt warm, but there was suddenly no pain. There was no fire around me, no damage done. I was just wrapped in a white light. Was I dead? My lungs still took in air, my heart was still beating, and my skin felt as warm. I was alive. Then what had happened? Slowly, the light faded from the room, revealing the war room once again. I had fallen to the ground, aches rushing through my body as I looked around. What did we do? Oh. As my eyes locked onto Damien, I gasped, seeing him floating in the air with a large black orb floating in front of his body. His eyes were lifeless, but his skin was still saturated with life. Damien? Diana's voice forced me to look over, gasping as she glared hard at Damien and held out her hand at the orb in front of him. The orb began to trickle an inky black energy that danced through the air and sailed towards Diana's hand, burning into her palm and fading into her skin. She winced as the veins but within her purple-tainted skin began to glow a black color, snaking through her bloodstream through her hands. As the black energy left the orb began to lighten from a pure black to a silver to finally a white. This was happening. Damien was becoming human. As the orb finally developed a pure white color, the orb floated into Damien's body and made him gasp out for air, eyes finally brimming with life. Damien! Damien fell forward, causing me to reach out and capture him in my arms. He instinctively wrapped his arms around me and toppled over, landing with me on the floor and him on top of me. Oof! Despite the pain in my body, I could feel Damien breathing, hear his heart beating, see his eyes as they looked down at me in complete shock and disbelief. I felt surprise run through my own mind and emotions. I really thought we were going to end up turning demon ourselves. And I was like, well, we can be miserable as demons together. Maybe one day we'll both become human again. Who knows? We did it! We had done it! I lifted a weak arm and cupped Damien's cheek, seeing him take everything in. Damien? Are you okay? I was sure he was lost on what to say. I was as well. I felt tears gather in my eyes as I wrapped my arms around him and hugged him tightly. You're alive. And human. I could feel it in my soul. He was a human, like me. He had gotten his wish and he was alive to see it. Damien began to shudder in my arms, agreeing with my statement, and hugged me tightly, crying into my shoulder. I thanked every deity I knew, every star in the sky. It worked. It really worked. I looked over at Diana to see her form a large gem in her unaffected hand and slam it into her palm directly over the source of the black veins dancing up her arm. They slowly stopped their ascent up her arm and began to trickle down into the gem. The jewel that was once pure and clear like a cut diamond became black like an onyx. As the last of the black energy faded from Diana, she toppled over and gripped the gem to her chest, making sure not to land on it.
God damn it all.
Are you okay? I couldn't help but stop the happy laughter that erupted from me at the realization of it all. Everything was okay now. We were all right. Damien lifted his head up and slowly pulled me up to where we were both sitting up, wiping his eyes and smiling from ear to ear at me in pure happiness. I smiled and leaned in, kissing his nose gently. We did it. Damien nodded and hugged me to him before looking over at Diana, seeing her look up at us with an unamused grimace.
You almost lost your lives. And you're smiling.
But we didn't lose our lives. Damien and I looked at each other before Damien let out a breath and hugged me to his side.
Humans are always risking their lives. You wouldn't understand.
Huh. Damn. I laughed, as did Damien, while Diana rolled her eyes and slowly stood up, still gripping the gem in her hands. As we stood, Diana tossed the gem at Damien.
Huh? What is this?
Your weapon against the Demon Lord. That gem holds all of your powers, and is slowly intensifying its power. Break it, and you'll be able to use your powers one last time at full potential.
Wow, well that's super handy. I stared wide-eyed at Diana. Where did this come from? Diana looked back at me and crossed her arms, raising an eyebrow.
You're not the only one who saw Damien's fate in a dream.
What?
I would rather not see another person die at the Demon Lord's hands, no matter who it is. And I'd rather not be blamed for it.
Why are we getting these visions, though? Are they just convenient plot devices, or what? I was stunned. Diana had seen it too? She let out a sigh and began to walk towards the exit of the room, most likely drained from the experience.
We head out in the morning. I will brief everyone of the plan once we get to the Demon Lord's castle.
Okay, I guess I just won't talk about that. With that, Diana left us alone. Damien gripped me and looked down at me, cradling the gem in his hand in amazement and ignoring the comments about him dying at the hands of the Demon Lord.
So, we're set.
I nodded happily. Yeah. Oh. Our private moment was interrupted by the rushing of the Incubi and their wives into the room, most likely being let in by Diana after she left.
Everything good?
Damien and I looked at each other in shock before nodding to the group, hugging each other lovingly. Yup. Just two humans cuddling. The group seemed to be excited at the news, gathering around us and visually checking us for any wounds or bruises. To my surprise as well, there were none, even after the attack from the Black Flames. Diana really pulled through. Damien, now being crowded, pushed everyone back, pocketing the gem.
We're okay. We're okay.
We still need to check on you, Damien, to make sure.
I stepped away from Damien, kissing his cheek. I was exhausted and needed to get to bed before I passed out in Damien's arms room. The whole ordeal. Wait. Needed to get to bed before I passed out in Damien's arms room the whole ordeal. Nope, I just can't make that sentence work. Let them check you out, Damien. I'll be in the room. Damien stared before nodding, understanding that I needed rest, before surrendering himself to the scanning eyes of his brothers. I took that moment to wave to the others and sneak out towards my room. I began to make my way back to my room, but stopped as I heard the sound of whispered voices sneak out through a barely opened door. Oh, right. The coup.
So, we're all in agreement? We have to. We don't have any choice anymore.
It will be for the better, I'm sure.
Indeed.
I peeked into the room, where they're having a coup. What are they talking about? And then a figure came. It must be Bajang this time. Gah!
My lady, your student tried to listen in.
I knew it, Bajang.
Thank you, Bajang.
I grimaced, now out in the open. The four stared at me with cold eyes as if they were ready to send me back to the human world as a corpse rather than going through with the siege. I looked up at all of them as I slowly rose to my feet, eyeing each leader, and as I considered running for the door. However, they each looked to each other in contemplation.
Say, you didn't hear anything, did you?
No! I swear.
What was the last thing you heard?
Something about having no choice. They're gonna kill me, crap.
Whoa! Hold on, guys!
Okay. Might as well just skip a little bit. We've done this before. Right. This is the first time I've really felt torn about not going through with it, just because I do feel really bad for Rabbit and her people. At the same time, I can see Diana's point of view, but one of these days I'm gonna come back and do these trainer endings and see how they rule the world.
Diana doesn't deserve the throne.
I looked to Rabbit, shocked to hear her say that. She had joined the rebellion because Diana wanted to make things better. Why did she not deserve the throne now? Rabbit turned fully to me and stepped forward.
We all joined the rebellion to make this world a better place. But Diana has proven that she doesn't care about anything other than defeating the Demon Lord for revenge. She is not a real leader.
Is it because she didn't approve of what you said to her? Rabbit flinched a bit, remembering that I had eavesdropped on that conversation as well. She looked at the ground and let out a sigh.
I joined this rebellion to fix the broken caste system. With Diana on the throne, nothing will change. Demons will still be forced to live as they were, and my kind will continue to be nothing more than slaves and servants.
The rage in Rabbit's eyes as she looked up at me could kill. I felt myself become fearful of her as she took another step towards me.
If this madness has dulled her sense of duty to the world, and I join this war for nothing, then I will be happy to rid the world of her, if that keeps my kind from being kept under her foot.
Her cause was noble. I felt myself become lost in whose side I was on as Rabbit closed her eyes and took a breath to calm down. Rabbit shook her head, tapping her staff on the ground.
Regardless, we can't have you remembering the conversation we had here if we are set on stopping her.
So they're really gonna kill me?
Whoa! Hey, hold on! We're not gonna hurt you or anything!
Alright, let's skip again. I'm sorry, Rabbit. Had to believe in Diana still. She turned my boo human. Alright, well, we made it. Back in one piece. I finally returned to our room and flopped onto the bed, letting the events of my time in the Abyssal Plains replay in my mind. I was trapped here, and soon enough I was about to go marching into battle against the Demon Lord for my freedom. The more I thought about it, the more surreal the feeling became. I was going to be in a room, meeting a powerful adversary face to face, and set myself free of the curse he brought down upon me. As Damien entered the room at last, I smiled and stood, walking over and wrapping my arms around him as he returned my embrace.
Tonight is our last night here.
Yeah. We held each other, locked in silence and unable to say anything more. We had been in a heavy predicament and we worked through it. It was something we did together. All we could do in the moment was hold each other and listen to our synchronized heartbeats. As the thought of tomorrow danced in my head, I began to fear it even more. Was I ready to go into battle? Was Damien? Were any of us, for that matter? We were about to walk into the final battle of a world war. Would we survive? Would I live to see Damien afterward and feel his embrace again? Tomorrow brought too many questions to think about, and I became frustrated and scared. I also just had a realization about the gem. The gem is probably a device where, like, a story device is what I'm trying to say. Like, there's probably the other good ending is probably where you go to fight the Demon Lord with Damien as a demon instead of a human. Like, you don't go through with the ritual. So, just to have the fight be written the exact same way, there's this gem that lets him use his demon powers one last time. So there's not much that's going to change with the battle. That's too bad. Would have liked to have seen human Damien step up to his father, but I guess it probably wouldn't have worked out all that great since the Demon Lord's pretty powerful. Anyway, that's my theory, and I'll find out at some point. But anyway, enough thinking. It's time to make love. I needed to hold him and treat the night like it was the last night of the world. Tomorrow was unpredictable, but tonight was guaranteed. I wrapped my arms tightly around Damien, burying my hands in his orange hair as he slowly encircled his arms around my waist. Damien pulled me close, knowing exactly what I wanted to do. Damien slowly stepped us back towards the bed and fell forward onto it, pinning me down to the mattress with his body as he claimed my lips with his own. I combed my fingers through his hair lovingly. Each touch of his fingers embedded themselves into my memory as I took in his scent, his warmth, his kisses over my skin. I barely felt him slowly ease my legs apart and kneel between them as he danced his tongue against mine. A part of me, however, felt a bit bold. I wrapped my arms and legs around Damien before rolling us over to where I straddled his hips, surprising him. As he looked up at me in shock, I smirked down at him lovingly. You've worked so hard, Damien. Let me reward you. Damien gulped slightly, taking in this new turn of events, before I leaned in and kissed him ever so sweetly, brushing my hands over his chest and feeling his skin beneath my fingers. As he quaked beneath me, I felt a rush of pride run through me. I like this a bit. I would explore it further, addressing us as slow as possible in grinding myself against him. His hands, not bound anywhere, caressed over the skin available to him as his eyes became lost in my form. While a mild form of shyness rushed through me, I had to run through with the mood. I wouldn't let myself get out of the swing of heat between us, even as his hands rubbed against every weak spot I had. As it became unbearable to deny ourselves our carnal needs any longer, we ravished each other and finally made love, gripping to each other and letting our moans become lost in each other's mouths and shoulders. Damien's hands combed over my back as I dragged my fingers along his chest, seeing the red welts of my dragging slightly form over his skin. It was erotic to see, but as Damien's hands locked themselves onto my hips and began to guide our rhythm, I became lost in the pleasure within me instead. The bed creaking only became louder the faster and rougher we became. We were uncaring of who was around us or who would hear us. We were dancing through euphoria together, and we weren't going to be stopped. It was a perfect ecstasy from beginning to end, when Damien wrapped his arms around me and held me close, both of us quaking in our embrace. I could only stare into Damien's gorgeous purple and blue eyes, becoming lost in them as exhaustion began to crawl through me. I love you, Damien. Forever.
I love you too. My life is yours.
We both passed out in each other's arms, lost in our bliss. The world didn't matter until the morning, but even then we knew we'd be all right. Tomorrow would decide everything.